Hello. Um, I'm back. So, as some of you know, I previously did craft and crime, and then I discovered that I'm not a very creative person, and I don't have a lot of ideas for crafts to do. And I was just going to be doing the same crafts over and over again, which would have been boring. So, I've rebranded, and I'm going to start a new series called Horrors, Hauntings, and Whodunits. And I'm just going to focus on the crime and scary, maybe even some creepy Mothman type stuff like that. I didn't want to just stay to serial killers, so we're going to examine all sorts of creepy things. Um, but I will show you my most recent cross stitch, since you won't be seeing any more of my crafts. It's my cat. I'm pretty proud of it. Took a very long time. Anyways, so episode 1, we are going to be talking about the disappearance and murders of Julianne Williams and Laura Winans. This crime happened in 1996. It involves two girls, women by this time. Julianne goes by Julie, and Laura goes by Lollie. So those are the names I'm going to be using. Julianne was a 24-year-old. She was originally from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and she had studied geology at Carleton College. Lollie was a 26-year-old originally from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, who had studied outdoor recreation at Unity College, and she wanted to become a wilderness guide. So they both were interested in the outdoors, um, and because of that, got involved with a Minneapolis-based outdoors group, uh, a woodswoman group, that was for women who enjoyed being outside and doing all sorts of things like that. So they met at a group outing at the Boundary Waters in Minnesota, which is a place I've actually been before a couple times. Um, it's a big area, lots of lakes. So they had gone as a group, and that's where they met each other. Um, they had both dated men their whole lives, but they realized that they were into each other, so they started dating. And after several months of dating, they had planned to move in together in the spring of 1996. So before they were going to move in together, and one of them had just gotten a new job, they decided to take a hike and do some camping in Shenandoah National Park with their golden retriever Taj. They arrived in the park on May 19th of 1996, and they set up camp near Bridle Trail. They were registered with a permit to stay through the 27th, so a little over a week, that they were going to be camping and hiking and doing all that. I'd say fun stuff, but not a huge camper or hiker, if you couldn't tell. Um, so they were expected to be gone until the 27th. On June, I keep thinking June, but on May 30th, Julie's roommate contacted Julie's parents and said, "Hey, Julie hasn't come home. She was supposed to be home a couple days ago, and I haven't heard from her, and she's not home. I'm kind of freaking out. Just wanted to let you know." So Julie's parents reported her missing, um, and soon after, the cops discovered Julie's car parked north of Skyland Lodge, and some hikers found Taj, who had been unleashed, and he was just roaming the trails. No sign of the women. So um, authorities started searching the trails, and they discovered the bodies on June 1st. So it wasn't a terribly long search process. They found the women. Lollie was inside of the tent. She had been bound and gagged, and Julie was found 30 to 40 feet away from the tent, also bound and gagged. And both of the women had had their throats slashed almost to the point of decapitation. So it was an aggressive assault. There were no signs of sexual assault. but the manner in which the murders were conducted was aggressive. So the crime automatically goes to, because it was in a national park, it goes to the National Park Service and the FBI, and they start to do some investigating. Nearby, a large pair of gloves was found. It was too large for the girls to have worn. That'll come back later. Um, and their journals were found, and the last entry was dated May 24th. Uh, so, the authorities believe they're split into two camps, as sometimes happens when there's different organizations involved. One side of them thinks it happened late May 24th, early May 25th, and the other thinks that it didn't happen until May 28th. So both sides have their reasons. We're still not sure if it was anywhere between May 24th and May 28th. So they start doing more investigating, trying to find the person who was responsible. And the Human Rights Campaign petitioned to have the crime examined as a hate crime because it was so aggressive and because it was against two lesbians. So they petitioned for that to happen, and authorities started looking into it as being a hate crime. Unfortunately, neither Julie's parents nor Lollie's parents knew that they were lesbians, so this is how they found out. And they've both said that it was okay, but that they would have preferred to find out a different way, as I'm sure we could all agree. It's not the best way to find that out when it's being broadcast all over. So it's being investigated as a hate crime, and 6 years go by. Over those 6 years, they get over 15,000 leads, and they finally hone in on a man named Daryl David Rice. And at this point in time, Rice is already in prison for attacking a young lady named Yvonne Malbasha in the summer of 1997 near the same place where Julie and Lollie's crime took place. So at this time, he's in jail for that. That attack happened.
I'm sorry.
Not talking to her. That happened in 97. Lollie and Julie happened in 96. So the thought process would be that he committed the first, got away with it, moved on to the second, and was caught. When he attacked Malbasha, she ended up escaping to a park ranger who, thank God, was able to get Rice stopped before leaving the park. So he was easily captured after that. And he was going to go to trial. He was going to be tried of the hate crimes. He had a bad history of aggression towards women. He had some problems at work of saying some really messed up stuff. So he'd already been in hot water for stuff like that. And in his car, he was discovered to be carrying the same supplies that had been used in Julie and Lollie's murder. So it was decent evidence against him. So he ended up pleading guilty to the Malbasha attack and received 11 years in prison for that. Another damning piece of evidence was that there was park surveillance showing him entering Shenandoah National Park on May 25th. So one time he was seen on camera on May 25th. He was seen again on May 26th and again on June 1st. So he denied, I don't know how you can deny something that's on camera, but he denied the 25th and the 26th, but he said he was there on the 1st. So he's saying he wasn't there the first two times, he was there the second or the third time. Either way, he's in hot water. So a jail informant, while he's in jail for the Malbasha murder, tells that he had heard Rice say that Julie and Lollie, quote, deserved to die because they were lesbian whores, unquote. So it's not looking good for him, right? He had the same weapons in his truck. He was aggressive toward women in general. He clearly did not have a very good view of lesbians. I mean, strike after strike. So he was set to go to court. He was indicted in 2002 for the murders, and not just murders, but they were elevated to the point of hate crime status, which meant that in this situation, if he was found guilty, he would be facing the death penalty, which I didn't know that was a thing, but that's a thing. So they have everything ready. They're ready to go to court. And like a month before they go to court in 2004, the charges against him were dismissed because the DNA, there was DNA that they found back in the glove, um, did not match Rice. So there was DNA found from the glove and the tape that was around some bindings, and it did not match Daryl David Rice. So they were forced to drop that against him because everything they had on him was pretty circumstantial, and they now had evidence that said it did not match this guy. So he did serve his time for Malbasha's attack. He was released in 2007. And since then, he was rearrested in 2009 and 2010 for breaking parole. But as of 2011, as far as I know, he was out. So found not guilty for that. So the next suspect that they stumbled upon was named Richard Evonitz, Evonitz. Evonitz, maybe? We're going to say Evonitz. He was a man who served in the Navy, and he also had a history of aggression towards women, especially in his case, young women. So in 2002, he abducted and raped a 15-year-old girl before he took her to his home, tied her to his bed, and he fell asleep. She ended up escaping while he was asleep, but before she could get the police back to where he was, he fled. So he was out of there, and then he was spotted in Florida. He was chased by the police, and he, while running, admitted that he had abducted and murdered 3 other girls whose ages were anywhere from 12 to 16. The problem being with him, he shot himself before he could be arrested, so we'll never know if it was him. And the DNA evidence could have matched him, but it could neither rule him as being the killer or as not being the killer, because it could have belonged to up to 8% of the population. So there was no definitive evidence that it was him, and now we'll never know because he shot and killed himself. So as of now, the case is still unsolved. It would be considered a cold case. If he was responsible, then that's that. If he wasn't, then we still have no idea who killed Julie Williams and Lollie Winans. So that is my unsolved crime for today. If you have any interesting unsolved things or other creepy stuff that you want to know more about, let me know, because I'd be happy to do some digging. I'll list my sources in the description, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.